Have you ever had that weird feeling in the middle of the night where you realize you're just drifting? You aren't failing at life, but you aren't exactly winning either. You're just fine. You have the same habits you had last year. You're making about the same amount of money. You're hanging out with the same people, talking about the same things. If you look at your life right now and imagine yourself 5 years into the future, doing exactly what you're doing today, how does that make you feel? For most people, that thought is actually pretty terrifying. Because average is a slow trap. It feels safe and comfortable, like a warm bed on a cold morning, but it's actually where dreams go to die. Today on Seim's Uncovered, we're talking about something radical. It's called the 5-year funeral. It sounds dark, but it's actually the most positive thing you can do for your future. It's the idea that to become the person you want to be, you have to be willing to kill off the person you are right now. To understand how this works, we have to look back at a man from history who actually did it. His name was Diocletian, and he was a Roman emperor. Now, usually when we think of emperors, we think of guys born into wealth with golden spoons in their mouths. But Diocletian was different. He was born the son of a former slave. He started at the very bottom. At the time he lived, the Roman Empire was a complete mess. It was called the crisis of the 3rd century. Basically, for 50 years, Rome was falling apart. Emperors were being murdered every few months. The money was worthless. Everyone was fighting everyone. It was the ultimate average system. Everyone was just trying to survive until tomorrow. No one was thinking about the future. When Diocletian took power, he realized something that most people are too afraid to admit. You can't fix a broken life by just trying a little harder. You can't put a band-aid on a gunshot wound. He realized that the old way of being an emperor had to die. He didn't just walk into the palace and sit on the throne. He completely changed who he was. He changed how he dressed, how he spoke, and how he ruled. He broke the empire into pieces so it could be managed better. He held a funeral for the old, chaotic version of Rome and built something entirely new. He was willing to be hated. He was willing to be misunderstood. And he was willing to break every rule to save the future. And he succeeded. He saved the empire and stayed in power for 20 years. But here is the part of the story that really matters for you and me. After 20 years of being the most powerful man in the world, he did the unthinkable. He quit. He walked away from the palace and moved to a quiet house by the sea to grow vegetables. A few years later, the people in power started messing things up again. They came to his house, begged him to put on the crown, and told him, "Rome needs you. You're the only one who can lead us." Diocletian looked at them, probably with dirt on his hands from his garden, and said, "If you could see the cabbages I've planted here, you'd never ask me to go back to that throne." Think about that. He had reached a level of best version where he didn't need the world to clap for him anymore. He had mastered himself so deeply that a simple garden gave him more peace than a golden palace. He had killed his ego long before he retired. So, how does this apply to you? Most of us are stuck because we are trying to carry our average self into a great future. It doesn't work. You can't be the person who stays up until 2 a.m. scrolling on TikTok and also be the person who builds a successful business. You can't be the person who is afraid of what their neighbors think, and also be the person who stands out and does something original. The 5-year funeral is a mental exercise. I want you to sit down and really look at your average self. Look at the version of you that makes excuses, the version of you that is lazy, the version of you that settles for good enough. Now, imagine holding a funeral for that person. From this moment on, that person is gone. You are no longer the guy who is trying to get fit or the girl who wants to start a channel. You are a new person, and a new person makes different choices. When you have to decide between working on your dream or watching Netflix, you don't ask, "What do I feel like doing?" You ask, "What would the version of me who owns his own life do?" A lot of people think that self-improvement is about finding yourself. It's not. It's about creating yourself. And creation requires you to get rid of the old material. If you want to be your best, you have to be okay with people not recognizing you anymore. Your old friends might say, "You've changed." Your family might say, "You're acting differently." And your response should be, "Yes, I am." The old version of me wasn't going where I wanted to go, so I had to let him go. This is exactly what Diocletian did. He knew that the crown, the title, and the power were just tools. He used them to fix the world, but he didn't let them define him. He was a man who knew his value came from his discipline and his work, not his status. You have to decide today. Are you going to keep dragging your average self along for the next 5 years? Are you going to be in the same spot in 2031, wondering why nothing ever changed? Or are you going to have the courage to hold that funeral today? It's not easy. It's actually really hard. It feels lonely sometimes. But on the other side of that funeral is your garden. On the other side is the peace that comes from knowing you didn't settle. You didn't just drift through life. You took the wheel and you drove. Every morning when you wake up, you have a choice. You can resurrect the average person who lived yesterday, or you can keep building the person you want to be tomorrow. Don't wait for a better time. Don't wait for Monday. Don't wait until you feel motivated. Motivation is for average people. Discipline is for the elite. Diocletian started as a slave's son and ended as the man who saved Western civilization, not because he was lucky, but because he was willing to change. He was willing to be the gardener when everyone else wanted him to be the emperor. So, take a look at your life. Uncover the habits that are keeping you small. Uncover the fears that are holding you back. And then, bury them. Build your garden. Plant your cabbages. Become the person that your future self will thank you for. Thanks for watching Seim's Uncovered. We're here to help you uncover the truth about history, psychology, and most importantly, yourself. If you're ready to stop being average, hit that subscribe button. Let's grow together.